Alright, everybody, how are we doing today? So this will be the final story for today. Like I said, I'm cutting it short because I got an interview later, and I got time to put these on social media and all that at the time of this recording. So, this will be our final one. This will be an economic story. Yay! My most controversial kind. I get thumb downs coming out the wazoo because people just don't want the truth. You don't want it? I'm giving it to you anyway. I'm spilling from the mouth with truth. I'm oozing truth out of every orifice. This is the economic truth, people. From Reason.com, free minds and free markets. Bernie Sanders blames Apple for Silicon Valley's government-created housing crisis. Development restrictions and NIMBYism is not tech sector success, explains Silicon Valley's housing costs. Apple is the latest tech company to announce its own plan for easing Silicon Valley's housing affordability crisis, and Senator Bernie Sanders is not happy about it. On Monday, the Cupertino headquartered tech giant announced that it would be investing $2.5 billion into housing and homelessness initiatives, including money for affordable housing projects, mortgage assistance, and spending on the homeless. What a wonderful thing to do. That's great. What's he complaining about? Sounds like they're actually trying to do a good thing here. If you are rich or in money, you are ethically and morally obligated, although not absolutely demanded, to share a little bit of that wealth. And when you do, that's a beautiful thing. That's great. Ethical capitalism. Before the world knew the name Silicon Valley, Apple called this region home, said Apple CEO Tim Cook in a press release. We feel a profound civic responsibility to ensure it remains a vibrant place where people can live, have a family, and contribute to the community. The company says it will create two $1 billion funds, one to finance public housing development, the other to assist first-time home buyers. In addition, Apple says that it will make $300 million of company-owned land in San Jose available for affordable housing. It will also launch a new $150 million affordable housing fund in the Bay Area. Another $50 million will be invested in a local homeless group in Santa Clara County. But for the Socialist Senator and Democratic presidential candidate, Apple's sense of civic responsibility is a band-aid for a wound the company inflicted. Apple's announcement that it is entering the real estate lending business is an effort to distract from the fact that it has helped create California's housing crisis, Sanders said in a press release. We cannot rely on corporate tax evaders to solve California's housing crisis. In lieu of corporate philanthropy, Sanders has proposed a housing for all plan that would do many of the same things that Apple is promising, just more so. Look, Bernie, I don't know if you hear yourself, but you're literally arguing against a charity, against someone carrying out their civic responsibility. Do you hear yourself? Bernie, do you hear it? You think they're tax dodgers. You think they're evil. You think all billionaires are evil. Do you have a toaster, Bernie? Billionaires from decades ago are why you can have a toaster. Why most poor folk can have a toaster now. I mean, come on, people. And you know what his plan's gonna do? It's gonna raise taxes. Like all hell, it's gonna raise taxes. We know the real reason why there's a housing crisis in California. It's because California doesn't pay enough into affordable housing. It's because California is constantly going for far left policies on everything. And then they're coming up into Washington, and they're gonna ruin this state too. Ugh! The senator would spend close to $2 million on building or rehabilitating low-income housing. His plan would also spend billions more on aid to first-time home buyers and homeless services on the regulatory side. Sanders' plan would cap rental price increases at 3%, or 1.5 times the rate of inflation, whichever is higher, and enact new federal restrictions on evictions and mortgage lending. The charge that Apple and the tech industry more broadly is responsible for California's housing affordability problems is not a view unique to Sanders. Indeed, it's a common refrain that an influx of tech jobs and tech money has made cities more expensive and less livable. Everyone from Vice to The Verge has written about how Silicon Valley companies are attempting to solve a housing crisis they helped create. A Los Angeles Times poll from last year found 15% of respondents blamed high housing costs on the tech industry. 13% blamed a lack of housing stock. Both Seattle and San Francisco have tried to fund affordable housing and homeless programs with taxes targeted at high-grossing tech companies. Indeed, the fact that not just Apple, but also Microsoft, Facebook, and Google have all proposed affordable housing initiatives shows how sensitive tech companies are to this charge. But to blame the tech industry for high housing costs is to confuse a failure of government policy for capitalistic excess. It ignores metros that have managed to add jobs while staying affordable. Meanwhile, the misguided policies that make California such an expensive place to live would also prevent Sanders' chosen housing policy fixes from working. Because the man doesn't know economics. He doesn't understand it. He's an idiot. He's never read a basic economics book in his life, I guarantee you. On a superficial level, it is of course true that if you add jobs and people to an area faster than you add housing units, prices are going to go up. This is exactly what's happened in the tech-dominated areas of Silicon Valley and San Francisco. According to a report from the website Apartment List, San Francisco has added 5.6 jobs for every housing permit it issued between 2008 and 2018. San Mateo County, just south of the city, had the same jobs to housing ratio over the time period. Santa Clara County, where Apple is headquartered, added 3.3 jobs for every housing permit in the last decade. Because the Apartment List study looks at permits issued, not units built, it probably overstates how much housing construction has happened. One study of San Mateo County, for instance, found that the city had built only 1 unit of housing for every 20 jobs it had added. Unsurprisingly, Bay Area rents and home prices are among the highest in the nation. 4 of the top 5 counties ranked by median home price are in the Bay Area, according to the National Association of Realtors. The top 16 most expensive cities in which to rent a one-bedroom apartment are all in the San Francisco and Silicon Valley area. The failure to build enough housing to accommodate new workers and the higher prices that come with that shortage are both largely the product... Excuse me again. Are both largely the failure to build enough housing to accommodate new workers and the higher prices that come with the shortage are both largely the product of overregulation. San Francisco's zoning rules ban the construction of denser apartment buildings in most of the city, preventing it from going up to accommodate new jobs and residents. Places like San Mateo and Santa Clara County combine these restrictions on multi-family housing with urban growth boundaries that prevent them from growing out. All these places suffer from organized NIMBY opposition to new housing, whether it comes from homeowners or anti-gentrification activists, as well as planning process that gives these NIMBYs ample opportunity to slow, stop, or shrink new housing developments. Areas of the country that don't have such insane restrictions on development have managed to both grow and stay affordable. According to Bureau of Labor Statistics data, lightly regulated Houston has seen its civilian labor force grow by 20% in the last decade, compared to the San Francisco's metro area 16%. Some 21 Fortune 500 companies have their headquarters in Houston. That's more for every job the Houston metro area has added. It's also permitted another unit of housing as a result. The average rent for one-bedroom apartment is $841, and home prices are below the national average. To put it simply, high home prices and rents result from housing demands exceeding supply. Supply is low in the Bay Area because the bureaucrats and elected officials who run those cities kowtow both to property owners who don't want more housing and social justice activists who want more housing, but only if no one makes any money off it. Together, these 3 groups are screwing over people who need an affordable place to live and the developers who want to build new homes. One solution in California and elsewhere is to follow the Houston model of allowing private developers to build more housing. There's precious little of that in Sanders' housing plan. However, his 3% cap on rental price increases would effectively kill off any private investment in multifamily developments. Which means without investment from the top, there's no way to increase production because there's no increase in value. Investment increases the value of the product, which makes it more affordable, and more reasonable to manufacture. He would literally be halting growth of the housing industry within Silicon Valley. This man is a dumbass. And all these crazy restrictions on how to build and where to build and what to build is what's actually responsible for ruining housing in this area. Not capital gains. You people. And when the funny thing is, when they blame capital gains for the issue, they don't even bother to explain how it causes it. It just magically does somehow. No technical in-depth explanation. No theory on how it happens. No theory on how it works. My advice to you people watching, my advice to you, if someone can't explain how something works in theory, be skeptical as hell. Yes, even be skeptical of me. If I can't explain it in theory, take it with a grain of salt. They can't even give you a full technical explanation. They can't even do it. It's great. Anyway, to move forward, investors would move their money to other sectors of real estate developers would decide there are better things to build than apartments. Doug Bibby, president and CEO of the National Multifamily Housing Council, told CityLab in reference. A 3% rent increase cap proposed by Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Building massive amounts of new public housing units, as Sanders has proposed, could theoretically fill the gap. This FIMBY, public housing in my backyard, approach to housing crisis, however, requires not only reforming zoning laws and overcoming NIMBYism, but also raising enough tax revenue to pay for all this new public housing. Touro Law Center professor Michael Lewin notes that this is unrealistic, not just because of public taxophobia, but also because the same progressives who favor public spending on subsidized housing also favor public spending on a wide variety of other priorities. Which means they're stretching the amount of money and revenue they'll be pulling in through tax thin. They're stretching it real thin. There's also reason to doubt Sanders' commitment to abolish the necessary zoning regulations that would allow for a public housing construction blitz, too. Mother Jones has deftly reported on Sanders' long history of demonizing developers and supporting local anti-development candidates, including some in San Francisco. Sanders' criticism of Apple's housing initiative is not just misplaced, it's also hypocritical. Rather than a regime of price controls, tax increases, and government spending, fixing America's housing affordability problem requires letting free markets actually function. Yeah, this is why the government should just not interfere with the housing industry. Say what you will about any other industry, but this is one where they just need to stay the fuck out. No housing regulations. They do not know what they are doing. If this doesn't prove it to you, I don't know what will. and to progressive socialists like Bernie Sanders and AOC, please do us all a favor. Learn some basic economics or go the fuck away. I'm not even kidding right now. I don't even want to see your face or hear your voice until you've learned some basic economics. So learn them or get the hell out of my politics. Get the hell out of politics, period. Get out of everyone's politics until you know what the hell you're talking about. Because right now you sure as hell don't. You want to fix housing? Get government out of it. That's all I got to say about that. Anyway, peace.